Okay, so we all know the name India, right? It's huge. It defines an entire subcontinent. But what if I told you that behind that super familiar name, there's this absolutely wild story? A story of ancient empires, some serious linguistic detective work, and a journey that spans thousands of years. That's what we're diving into today, the truly surprising origin of one of the most famous names on the planet.
So let me just start by asking you a question. What in the world connects India, Indonesia, and the indigenous peoples of the Americas? I know, it sounds like the start of a really weird joke, right? On the surface, they seem totally unrelated, worlds apart, but there is a connection, and it all comes down to one single ancient word. And honestly, the answer is going to blow your mind. Just look at this list. It's nuts. You've got the Indian Ocean, the East Indies, Indochina, Indonesia, even the old historical term for Native Americans. How is that even possible? Well, it turns out they're all part of the same word family. They all spring from the exact same source, a single ancient river.
Okay, so how did one word get so much mileage? To figure that out, we've got to put on our detective hats. We're going to jump in a time machine and trace this name all the way back to its source, peeling back the layers of history one empire at a time. And here it is, the whole journey in 4 simple steps. It all kicks off with this one word, Sindhu. In an ancient Indo-Aryan language, it just meant river, specifically the massive Indus River. From there, it got passed from civilization to civilization, and each one kind of tweaked the pronunciation a little. It's literally like a global game of telephone that played out over thousands of years. Now, this first step is so important. The ancient Persians had this, let's call it a speech habit. They consistently swapped an S sound at the beginning of a word for an H sound. So Sindhu just naturally became Hindu in their language. And you can see right here, this wasn't a fluke. It happened over and over again. Supta Sindhu became Hapta Hindu. The ritual drink Soma became Haoma. So get this. The very first Hindus weren't a religious group. The word simply meant the people from the land of the Sindhu River. That's it. I love this quote because it just nails the whole chain reaction perfectly. So the Persians turned Sindhu into Hindu. Then along come the ancient Greeks. That H sound at the beginning was tricky for them, so they just dropped it, and they called the place Indos. Finally, the Romans hear the Greek word and they do what they do best, they Latinize it, and boom, you get India, an amazing domino effect across cultures. All right, so we've traced the word. But a name isn't just a sound, right? It's tied to real people, a real place, a real culture. So now, let's talk about the incredible civilization that gave the world this name in the first place. And we're talking seriously ancient here. I mean, the roots of this thing go back 9,000 years to places like Mehrgar. By about 2600 BCE, just to give you some perspective, that's when the Great Pyramids are going up in Egypt, this city, Mohenjo-Daro, was one of the largest and most advanced cities on the entire planet, a bustling metropolis. This was the heartland of the Sindhu people. And this is the part that just blows my mind. This ancient culture isn't just dead and gone in a museum. It's still alive. Take a look at this famous statue from Mohenjo-Daro, the king priest. See that pattern on a shawl? You can find that exact same design on traditional Sindhi adruk shawls worn today. Or how about these little toy carts they dug up? They're basically identical to the real, full-sized bullock carts you can still see in rural Sindh right now. That is a direct, unbroken link across 4,500 years. It's unbelievable. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting and, a little controversial. We know about the people, but what language were they speaking? For decades, everyone just assumed Sanskrit was the mother tongue of the entire region. But what if that's not the whole story? What if we've had it backward this whole time? So, you've got 2 competing ideas here. The classic one, let's call it the granddaughter theory, says Sanskrit is the big, ancient grandmother language, and Sindhi came from it much, much later. But there's another theory, a more recent one, that completely flips the script. It suggests that Sanskrit wasn't the everyday language of the people. It was a refined, almost literary language crafted by scholars from a more natural, older language, a sort of Proto-Sindhi spoken by the people in the Indus Valley. And here's the kicker for that second theory. The scholar Siraj-ul-Haq Miman had this brilliant insight. He pointed out that the word Samskrita, Sanskrit, literally means refined or put together. And that implies something huge, right? You can't refine something from nothing. There had to be a raw, natural language that existed before it.
And that raw material, he argued, was the language of the Indus people. So, is there any actual proof, or is this just a cool theory? Well, it turns out there might be a smoking gun, and it's not hidden in some dusty old scroll. It's hidden in the sounds of the Sindhi language as it's spoken today.
Check this out. Sindhi has these really unique sounds called implosives. Okay, try this. Say the letter B or D. Feel that little puff of air coming out of your mouth? Well, to make these Sindhi sounds, speakers do the exact opposite. They draw a little bit of air in. It's a very distinctive sound. And here's the key. These sounds are super rare in the world's languages, and they are completely absent from Sanskrit.
So the big question is, where do these weird sounds come from? There are two main possibilities. Theory 1. Sindhi is so ancient that it actually held on to sounds from the original granddaddy of all Indo-European languages, sounds that a younger language like Sanskrit had already lost. Theory 2. Sindhi picked up these sounds from the original pre-Aryan language that was spoken in Mohenjo-Daro long before Sanskrit arrived, a linguistic fossil, basically. But here's the thing. It almost doesn't matter which theory is right. Either way, the conclusion is absolutely stunning. Sindhi, the language, carries the acoustic signature of the Bronze Age. It has a voice, a literal sound, that comes to us directly from the dawn of South Asian civilization, a voice that Sanskrit just doesn't have. Okay, let's pull all these threads together and get back to that original riddle. We've traced the name, we've met the people, we've even heard their ancient voice. But just when you think we're done, there is one final, absolutely mind-bending twist to this whole story. All right, everyone knows the story of Christopher Columbus, right? He was looking for the Indies, lands in the Americas, and calls the people he meets Indians. A classic, massive historical mistake. But what if I told you that by pure dumb luck, he actually stumbled upon people who had a real, ancient genetic link to the very civilization he was trying to find? It sounds impossible, but it's true.
This is wild. Modern genetics has uncovered this incredible story. Tens of thousands of years ago, there was this population living in Siberia called the ancient North Eurasians. Okay, so one branch of their descendants headed east, crossed the Bering Strait, and populated the Americas. They became the ancestors of Native Americans. Thousands of years later, another branch of their descendants headed south, mixed with the local people in South Asia, and became a key part of the genetic recipe for the Indus Valley Civilization.
So let's wrap this up. What's the final verdict? Number 1. The name India is a global hand-me-down that started with the river Sindhu. 2. The people of Mohenjo-Daro, the Proto-Sindhis, were the OGs of South Asia's great cities. 3. Modern Sindhis are their direct descendants. And 4. The Sindhi language isn't just some offshoot of Sanskrit, it's an ancient tongue that preserves the actual sounds of the Bronze Age. And that historical mistake about Indians in America, it accidentally pointed to a real deep-time connection between two sides of the world.
So I want to leave you with one last thing to chew on. We think of history as something we read in books or see in crumbling ruins. But what if a living language can be an artifact too? If a language spoken today literally carries the voice, the acoustic fingerprint of its most ancient inhabitants from thousands of years ago, doesn't that change everything about how we define history and who owns it? It's a pretty deep question. Thanks for coming on this wild journey with us.